I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
You must listen. What I'm about to tell you will change the course of history.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies.
Jay-Z is requesting that his accuser reveal herself to the public, and that if she does not, he wants the judge to throw out the case. Apparently, Jay-Z has known about this since November, because that's when he filed a lawsuit against Tony, anonymously though, referring to himself as a high-profile individual who attended the Diddy parties. Jay-Z's lawyer stated that he has created an impeccable career and platform, that he's never been accused of any allegations, so that it is only fair that the identity of the accuser be revealed to the public. Jay-Z maintains that he's being blackmailed, and that because he refused to give in to the extortion demands of Tony, that is why he sued him anonymously back in November. Tony did reveal that he, as well as the plaintiff, have been harassed and threatened, as well as followed home, which is likely why he's probably not revealing the identity of his client. However, Jay-Z and his lawyer are not having it. They said fair is fair. If she can bring this to the public, then she also needs to identify herself.
We have breaking news. Music mogul Sean Jay-Z Carter is accused of raping a 13-year-old girl with Sean Diddy Combs. Jay-Z was added to an amended civil lawsuit against Combs that was filed today. The suit claims Jay-Z joined Combs in assaulting the minor at an after-party following the 2000 Video Music Awards. Jay-Z is denying the allegations, calling them, quote, a blackmail attempt. In a statement posted on X, the rapper said in part, "These allegations are so heinous in nature, my heart and support goes out to true victims in the world who have to watch how their life story is dressed in costume for profitability."
A lot of people keep missing something here. When they say these underage girls up in New York, and I'm just saying with Diddy and Jay-Z them, everybody like, oh, how can they mistake, can't mistake a 13-year-old for an 18-year-old. Boy, y'all gotta realize we talking about 16. That's what most niggas in the city be aiming for, 16. Why you think they show up at the high schools? You could hear it in their raps. They were showing up at the high schools because they're waiting on 16. They're not waiting on 18.
So the most interesting thing to me about Jay-Z being named in this case is that nobody thinks they're a celebrity worshiper, right? But now that he's been named, all the Beyonce fans, all the Jay-Z fans are already starting to come up with their own theories and coming up with timelines trying to prove why it can't be true. That in itself is celebrity worship, because you worship these celebrities so much that your adoration for them trumps sexual assault. It trumps trafficking. These are serious allegations, and y'all are already trying to come up with reasons as to why it can't be true. I don't know, maybe it has to do with the way we were raised, but I've never felt this type of obsession or adoration for any celebrity. It's the fact that people have already formulated their opinion that he is innocent before the trial started, before we have any evidence, before there's been a real investigation. That's insane. It's my opinion that there are very few people who truly do not worship celebrities.
I thought I was having the most serious case of deja vu when I started getting tagged in videos of people talking about how there was a lawsuit just filed claiming that Jay-Z R-worded a 13-year-old girl after the 2000s MTV Awards. The reason I thought I was having deja vu is because we talked about this specific lawsuit back in October, because this lawsuit was filed months ago. At that time when we spoke about it, this lawsuit had been filed detailing that there was a 13-year-old child who had been R-worded after after the 2000 MTV Awards by Diddy and two unnamed celebrities, one being a male celebrity and the other being a female celebrity. In this video, we debunked the rumor that was going viral at the time that DeVay Chase, who played Samara in The Ring, was the 13-year-old who was R-worded at this after party because of some clips that were going around from that evening.
So good, you're doing so good.
Coming to the after party tonight.
I'll tag the video below so that you guys can go back and watch it, because I go over all of the details of like the lawsuit and how at the time a lot of people were thinking that the two unnamed celebrities were either Jennifer Lopez and Ashton Kutcher or Beyonce and Jay-Z, and we talked about how Beyonce was not present, but Jay-Z was there at the after party. Jay-Z has been accused of being that male unnamed celebrity who R-worded the 13-year-old child at the MTV after party alongside Diddy and another unnamed female celebrity. So not necessarily a new case, just new information. I was able to find some photos of this said after party where this occurred, and I think that they're very interesting. So notably for the after party, Jennifer changed her outfit, but P. Diddy is wearing the same outfit. And this after party was held at a nightclub in New York City called Lotus. And this after party was hosted by P. Diddy and Eminem and Dr. Dre. There were dozens of celebrities who attended this event and who were in these photos. Fred Durst, Ice-T, J-Lo's manager, Benny Medina, J-Lo's sister was also there, David Blaine was in attendance, and of course, Jay-Z was there. Before anyone gets too up in arms, remember this was 2000, so this was before Jay-Z got with Beyonce. And there was a big fight that broke out between J-Lo and Diddy on this evening, where Jay-Z and Diddy are accused of R-wording a 13-year-old girl with another female celebrity present. You can see in this photo, Jennifer is obviously very upset, if looks could unalive. And the woman standing next to Jennifer in these photos is her sister, Linda. Here's another photo. You can see that they are clearly arguing back and forth. Here's the thing, Diddy was present where this alleged crime occurred. Jay-Z was present. At some point in the evening, Jennifer Lopez got very angry at Diddy. And why is that? She had just won an MTV Music Award hours before. She should be having a great night. And this is Jay-Z's response to him being named in this lawsuit. I'm just gonna let you pause to read. I'm not even going to read this to you guys. Like, who approved this? Like, I'll read you one line. No, sir. It had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you like the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. Talking directly to Tony Busby when he says this. But here's the thing. Jay-Z openly dated a 15-year-old girl while he was up and coming in his career and had everything to lose. Wouldn't even begin to shock me that he could potentially commit as heinous of an act as R-wording a 13-year-old girl alongside his buddy and a woman. I would not put that past him. So anyway, the original video I did about this lawsuit and debunking the claim that DeVay Chase was the Jane Doe, the 13-year-old Jane Doe, is going to be tagged below in the description so that you guys can go watch that as well. But I will continue to keep an eye on this, and thank you guys for keeping me posted and tagging me and making me aware of the updates in this case.
It's a statement which, if you're following Elon Musk, if you're following a lot of the Cat Williams prophecies, it's think about the kids, think about the children. Saying he and Beyonce are going to have to sit their children down and talk about this. This incident allegedly occurred in 2000. We will talk about what Jay-Z was doing in the early 2000s. Before we get started, I want you guys to revisit some of the videos that I made this year and maybe even last year, and I will try to drop the links in the comments. But the first being in February, when it was announced that the Rock Nation brunch would be canceled. Brunch, of course, is an industry staple at this point, but in my opinion has also been a place where I believe the most despicable men in the music industry have had no issue showing just how bonded they are to each other, gloating their 30-year-long friendships with smiles, cigars, and champagne. This would have been Jay-Z's first appearance in the 90 days, really, since the Cassie lawsuit dropped. This would have been one of those big industry events that you would expect to see Diddy at. Mind you, in February, he was still very much a very free man. I, of course, on my iconic Substack said the brunch was probably canceled because the guest list was ducking subpoenas at this point. But in the announcement that the brunch was being canceled came the official excuse from Team Beyonce and Team Jay-Z. The entire flagship event of his company had to be canceled because Jay-Z and his wife were attending a award recognition ceremony for some industry executive that evening. the brunch time event could not happen because they had to be somewhere also in Los Angeles at 7 p.m. Secondly, in a separate video, I said that the most strategically advantageous thing Jay-Z has done for his career is rebrand himself from being Jigga Man, as we all knew in the 2000s, to this like bon vivant antler-haired daddy who gets to exist under this sort of protection of not just Beyonce, but of the fucking cult. The money has been stacking. The commercial projects have been stacking. The commissions are being paid for what I believe is anticipation of a moment just like this. The money will go very far. It'll be a very long defensive legal game against accusers and commentators and journalists who talk about them. But I don't know if it's going to work. At the end of the day, the music industry is the mob. It's not like the mob. It's not like the mafia. It is the mob. There is a white side of the industry that stays clean publicly. And there are the street level criminals they intentionally seek out and sign and platform and build with as their fall. The ones they can easily and legally wash their hands of. That is why Diddy is sitting in jail. And the co-founder at Bad Boy Records is at Craig's having a steak tonight. That is why Death Row Records co-founder Jamie Iovine is probably in Maui having a Mai Tai. It's why Barry Weiss is probably, on a Peloton bike in his mansion. And why Leora Cohen would have never signed an Israeli rapper to disparage Israeli women the way that Jay-Z happily did it to black women for him. Let's stay on track though. In the early 2000s, Jay-Z's most substantial collaborator was none other than renowned fucking pedophile, Mr. Robert Kelly. Mr. Robert Kelly has been dodging allegations of sexual misconduct since the early 90s. In 1994, Mr. Robert Kelly, at 27 years old, married 15-year-old Aaliyah. Per witness testimony, their first alleged sexual contact was when she was like 13 or 14. In 1994, Jay-Z and Diddy were both 25 years old. When I talk about the peer group, this is a graduating class. Mr. Kelly's marriage to that child was not confusing, nor was it a secret. Vibe magazine had published their marriage license in 1995. You have to understand, in the 90s, access to information as consumers was very limited. We only had a handful of vessels, and they were all like heavily corporatized. It was either print magazines, newspapers, MTV, or like corporate radio, hip-hop radio station. I was fortunately someone who grew up listening to Wendy Williams on the radio, and she was a rogue during that time. This is an era where shock jocks and also like real true investigative journalism excelled because it was necessary. Let me zoom myself out. Let's start at the bottom here. In 2000, 5 years after that marriage, 4 years after it was annulled, the Chicago Sun-Times was heavily investigating R. Kelly. It's not just rumors. It's not just shock jock radio. It's not just like hip-hop magazines. It is real, verified, accredited white press, mainstream press, real press. 8 years after R. Kelly married a child that he had been sleeping with since she was 13 years old. 2 years after the Chicago Sun-Times starts investigating R. Kelly, Jay-Z partners with R. Kelly, who's not his label mate, not an artist he assigned, but practically partners with him for an album called The Best of Both Worlds. They announced it in January 2002. In February 2002, the P-tape featuring a minor surfaces. In March, they released the album. Doesn't sell well though. In June, Mr. Robert Kelly is arrested on 21 counts of CP. That arrest, from what I'm able to gather, made Jay-Z distance himself from R. Kelly, not anything else I mentioned before that, because R. Kelly was bad for business and he was fucking up the money. This is an era back when albums would sell millions of hard copies, and I think that album only sold like 280,000 copies. Yes, there's public outrage, but R. Kelly stayed on his bullshit. He was still backed by his label. He was still able to put out more albums. He put out Chocolate Factory. It had some really good fucking songs on it, and people let him cook. 2 years go by. Now we're in 2004. Jay-Z's on his like farewell, I'm retiring bit. R. Kelly's back to being hot. And they say, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do another album together. After all I just mentioned, that includes the 1994 marriage to a child. That includes the tape that came out in 2000. That included the arrest for 21 counts of CP in 2000. The heat had cooled off. He was still hot. So you know what? The money's back to being okay. Let's make unfinished business. Not only that, let's go on tour together. Madison Square Garden arena level tour together. After all I just mentioned. Jay-Z is 35 years old in 2004, by the way. The tour is a mess. R. Kelly's a mess. He's complaining about the fucking lighting. He's not showing up on time. He's getting into physical fights with Jay-Z's crew. Halfway through the tour, he gets kicked off. Again, not because of anything else I just fucking mentioned. When I first made my post about Diddy, the first thing I said is, everyone knew. Everyone knew, because everyone in the entire industry knows. R. Kelly stayed signed to Jive Records until 2011. 10 years after the P-tape, 15 years after marrying a 15-year-old little girl. These collab albums were released as part of a partnership between Rockefeller Records, which Jay-Z and Leora Cohen own, Island Def Jam, which Russell Simmons has, and Jive Records. In 2018, The Washington Post did another large expose on R. Kelly as it relates to the industry that protected him and knew about him, saying Clive Calder, the founder of Jive Records, knew about R. Kelly since at least 1994. Barry Weiss, the president of Jive for 20 years, told the newspaper he didn't really concern himself with R. Kelly's private life, saying he didn't know about at least 2 of the lawsuits that were filed against R. Kelly and the label for sexual misconduct, even though the label had successfully argued that they weren't liable for those lawsuits. Again, these labels, the executives who work for them, will always be able to wash their hands of these wild, untenable Negro liability they are rinsing millions of dollars out of. That is the proof of the working system. Anyway, fun fact, in 1987, Jive Records tried to enter a distribution deal with Clive Davis's Arista Records, and Clive Davis said, no, I don't want that hip-hop shit. But just 6 years later, in 1993, he found a way to keep his hands clean by becoming the co-founder of Bad Boy Records with that one. In 2002, after a whole bunch of merging, Clive became the chairman of BMG, which now put him in charge of Jive Records, a label he didn't want to partner with at Arista, and a label that R. Kelly is signed to. And happening his first year as chairman is his reach across the label aisle to make this happen before, of course, he leaves in 2008.
So I told y'all that Beyonce and Jay-Z were next. I told y'all this a year ago. I told y'all they were going to get puffy. I told y'all that a year before it happened. I knew about all this freaky shit that was going on. I already knew this stuff was going to happen. I'm going to tell y'all who's next after Jay-Z. After they're done getting Jay-Z, they're coming to get Mr. Madea himself, Tyler Perry, all those allegations of different actors that he's done things to. They're going to get Tyler Perry and T.D. Jakes at the same time. I repeat, they're coming for Tyler Perry and T.D. Jakes after Jay-Z. Beyonce is going to try to find her best way to keep her and her family away from this. She's still going to be down with her husband, but she's going to be far away from this situation here. So after they take down Jay-Z, which I've already told y'all they were going to do, and Puffy, the next person they're coming for is Tyler Madea Perry. I can't wait till they get his ass.
No amount of rebranding himself as some trap exoteric / Basquiat will divorce Jay-Z from the lifestyle and the friends he has accrued in pursuit of massive exploitative wealth. Friends who, like him, have a sordid history of violence and abuse against adults and minors. Back in May, when the footage of the abusive incident that Cassie cited in her lawsuit against Sean Combs became public and the discourse shifted from gold-digging whore seeking money that she's been cut off of to, oh my God, this happened, I said people needed to be careful about assuming the people around them had no knowledge of it, because if there's one thing you should know about that brunch is that it is strategically held by that one and is promoted by men who have all had allegations. In the video in May, I discussed abuse via proxy, which is when someone being abusive towards you will excise your community from you by way of violence, control, and coercion. So if you think you can escape, you can't, because I'm going to threaten or be violent toward the people who would later be able to help you. And in the same regard that I'm doing that, I'm going to insulate myself by drawing you into the community that will protect me. That's this community. The men smiling, kikiing it up with them every year at this very public brunch that is meant to be exclusive. They know, they always know, because power insulates itself, because birds of a feather flock together. As I've stated in the past, you will have abusers and you will have an equal, if not greater amount of pillars. People there to uphold them, people there to support the rebrand, people there to act as character witnesses so that these allegations go away quietly. This claim doesn't shock me at all. I find it entirely plausible because it is a non-secret of hip hop that around the same time that these two were buddies and known collaborators, a 25-year-old Jay-Z had a very intimate, continuously developing relationship with a 14, 15-year-old Foxy Brown, someone who has remained loyal to him and his brand for decades and will likely never tell the totality of her tale because of it. But it is a tale nonetheless, one that mirrors that of Sean Combs, one that mirrors Robert Sylvester Kelly. Older men with power and influence in one of the only industries that allow for class mobility of young Black folk being exploitative, being dangerously violent, being abusive. Your fave celebrities are not hapless victims walking around with wolves in sheep's clothing. They are all wolves making each other's sheep clothing. People need to understand that. And the reckoning that has to happen in many industries is people's admittance to knowledge of these things, to their insulation of these things, and to the reality that they don't care enough about these things occurring to see it end, even if they are not being actively abusive themselves. That's why I mentioned back in that video in May that in Cassie's lawsuit, she specified dozens of incidences in which this happened at exclusive celebrity events in front of large crowds of people. Those people include your favorite power couple. They include assistant and auxiliary staff and up-and-comers in this industry who know to turn their head if they ever want to make a buck again. Celebrities are not your peers. However parasocial you find yourself feeling toward them, they are not your peers. And when they are amongst their peers, they show who they are. And as stories like this continue to crop up about Jay-Z and many other male celebrities in hip-hop, I want people to also be prepared for these same people having the women around them support them. Because, as I said before as well, these women are oftentimes pillars, not victims. And as always, as the public, our job is to take something that is meant to be voyeuristic and salacious and shift it to its actual focus, which is recovery and justice for survivors and accountability for the folks abusing them.